This is the 10-Minute Contrarian Podcast. This is VP. We are a solutions-based podcast, diving into the world of contrarian investing and alternative finance. You can find us hosted on the No Nonsense Forex YouTube channel, NoNonsenseForex.com, and podcast players everywhere. Episode 256 is brought to us by Blueberry Markets. If you are not doing all of your trading on the best platform in the entire world, where exactly are you doing your trading? This isn't some broker that just up and told me to say this. You guys know I've been with these guys for 7 years. You can trade anything you want on MT4, MT5, TradingView, the world's best customer service by far, and it will get even better if you use my link because you will get your own personal concierge. Only my traders get this. You go down to the Blueberry Markets blog in the show notes, click it, scroll all the way down, and the link you need to use is right there. This thing is so built out, you can do all of your trading there all the time for the rest of your life. And you should, unless you're American like me, and then you can't. But I have other options for you down below in the show notes as well. Check those out, especially Apex Pro. But for literally everybody else who is not American, Iranian, or North Korean, get yourself on Blueberry Markets, make the switch, never look back. It is the 10-Minute Contrarian Podcast, and this is one of those episodes that I will probably regret making the moment it goes out, because the alpha I am about to share with you for free today is ridiculous. All I can say is, at the very least, if you are on YouTube, please give me a thumbs up. And most of you are on audio players, especially if you're on Spotify or Apple, which are the top two by far. If you can make sure you give this podcast a 5-star review, could you guys do that at the very minimum here? I would very much appreciate you for that. And when I do come out with paid products, which I will be doing this year, there's an announcement. You guys better be lined up around the corner for what I'm about to show you today. It's really that significant. Now, a lot of you guys know that I was a technical analyst before I was anything, and that's really how I made my mark initially on social media. And the way we do technical analysis is far superior to the way anybody else does technical analysis. I will take that to the grave. And you guys also know we use the monthly chart here at the 10-Minute Contrarian Podcast, or we primarily use it. And every once in a while, just because I'm feeling froggy, I will drop a signal here or there. Sometimes it's here. Sometimes it's on Discord randomly. If you guys want to get on our Discord, the invite link is in the FAQs on NoNonsenseForex.com. We've had a couple people have issues with it and say the link is expired. It is a non-expiring link. So the problem is typically on your side. Make sure you clear your cache. And if you can't do it by then, we don't know what to tell you. We can't do anything. But if you want on, that's where you go. But I've been very clear in saying I am not a signal service in any way. That's why I do this very rarely. But when I do, it almost never misses. The last time I did it on Discord was when I talked about ConocoPhillips, ticker symbol COP, and the timing there was pretty great. And then when I did it here, the last time we spoke about an actual signal, it was the gold to Bitcoin ratio, and I was getting a bullish signal. I want to say, I'm not going to go back and look at all the episodes and go through them. It's just going to have to be a trust me bro type scenario, but you guys all remember it if you were around then. It might have been August of last year. I'm just kind of matching it up with my charts. But again, it was a really good signal. And we're going to do this again today. And not only that, this is something you guys can use because this is a chart combination that very, very few people know about, and very, very few people know just how accurate it is. Now, am I jinxing myself here? Maybe. Do I believe in jinxes? No, I believe in statistics, and nothing's ever 100%, but damn has this thing been about as good as it gets. And I'm going to share it with you today. Now, it's going to be a bit tough. Anytime I'm on a podcast and people go into the charts, I usually tune out because I can't see what they're doing, one. Two, I think their charts are whack compared to mine, so why am I even looking at it? But I digress. The best thing to do here is to probably listen to this episode or re-listen to it on your laptop and then follow along on TradingView. But regardless of where you are right now, the show must go on. So we spoke on Substack. Actually, I do have a Substack, by the way. Link is down below. And the last Substack I put out actually went a bit viral. That was crazy. So if you want to see that and you want to see this one, you're going to have to subscribe to my Substack. Link is below. But the article in question was one of the very first ones I did, called Anything to Anything. And it showed how advanced technical analysts such as ourselves can get a huge advantage and a huge jump on the market by comparing one instrument to another instrument and putting our algorithm over the top of it. Again, we contrarians like to look where most people aren't looking. And that doesn't just go for fundamental analysis, that also goes for technicals, and this is one of the biggest ways we accomplish that. So it really helps to have read that article first before we get into this, but I'll assume that anybody listening to me right now already knows how to do this or is getting ready to learn very soon. So we are going to do an anything to anything, and then we are going to add a third layer on top of that to illustrate just how strong this chart is. This chart works really well on the weekly and the monthly, but the whole reason for this episode is I am currently getting a signal on the monthly. And unless this next week is just bananas, it's probably going to stay that way and close the month bearish. And if it does, historically, this has set off a lot of different things that we pay attention to the upside. And the anything to anything chart I am referring to, again, I'm giving you one of the biggest weapons in my entire arsenal, and I can't believe it, and I'm never going to do this again. But this chart is the gold to copper ratio. So on TradingView, the way I like to do it is just by the spot price. So XAU USD / XCU USD. So why don't you guys just go ahead and put that sucker on your chart right now and tell me what you see. On the monthly, might you be getting a bearish signal as well? Well, if you're not, that's fine. Maybe you'll get it soon, but I am. And it is not a signal that comes very often. It's quite rare, actually, if you go back. But when it does happen, the bullish implications across the board are incredible. So what I want you to do is on TradingView, right next to the name of the pair itself in the upper left-hand corner, you're going to see a plus sign. What this does is allows you to overlay a third instrument on top of your charts expressed as a line graph. And what this allows you to do is to say, okay, once I get a signal on this, what is the effect it has on this other thing? So you can use the crosshair and measure up. It says, hey, when I get a bullish signal on this, does the price of this other thing typically go up or down? So we're going to look at a few different instruments here. The very first thing I want you to do is hit the plus sign, and then let's look at the S&P 500. Just type in SPX, one of the main ETFs for this. And when you do this, you should see a blue line pop up on your screen representing the price of the S&P 500 during this time. Now I want you to take your crosshair and line up every time you got a bearish signal on the copper to gold ratio. What effect did this eventually have on the S&P 500? You should be getting bullishness every single time. Now, in the span of the last 15 years, I think I did get one false signal here, but it was a very quick false signal. I want to say like 2014, something like that. I can't look at my chart and record at the same time, but you may have experienced this as well. But most of the time, almost all of the time, this has led to crazy prosperity in the U.S. markets. And it makes sense if you think about what the ratio is actually telling you. Copper is called Dr. Copper for a reason. It predicts market bullishness. And when people are moving away from a safe haven and into a building material, that is telling you that the world is getting ready to build, which is quite bullish. And those of you who hold copper positions and who follow the price of copper, you know that recently, even despite everything going on in the world, the price of copper has held very well and even gone up when you would typically expect it to go down. Now, fundamentally, I know we have the drama going on in Iran. But we also have a macro hedge fund manager running the United States Treasury, Scott Bessent. And it looks like we have a new Fed chair in Kevin Warsh who's going to run it hot. So those things line up as well. And if you want to see something really interesting, what you need to do is go to that blue line that represents the S&P 500 now, right-click it on Windows. I don't know what you Mac people do, but get rid of it. Right-click it and hit Remove. And then hit the plus sign again. We're going to do a different overlay. And this overlay is going to be oil. The way I like to do it is CL, crude oil futures. And then tell me what you see there. This is going to be quite interesting. You know, we're always told, and we've seen recently, when the price of oil goes up, things typically go down. Look what also happens when the gold to copper ratio flips bearish. Oil generally goes up a lot too, or it simply stagnates, but it typically doesn't go down. How can this be possible? Well, because the correlation isn't quite what you think it is. You will notice that oil, typically, when the gold-copper ratio flips bearish, either goes up or stays fairly flat. So I know we have a situation right now where we should be seeing the after effects of what's gone on in Iran. And we could be feeling those effects for a while because supply-demand is a very real thing. But I think the trip, Donald Trump's trip to China, was very telling. I think, remember what we said before, this all comes down to the midterms in 2026. He has to win them. This whole Iran thing really got in the way. I won't say got in the way, he started it, but it didn't quite play out the way he was hoping. So they went to China and said, look, this is screwing us. This is also screwing you. Let's figure this out and get ourselves back on track. And then we can go right back to being rivals afterwards. So what will happen as a result of that trip, I don't really know, but I'm sure that was one of the main themes behind it. But the main point of all of this is oil can stagnate or go higher, and we can still have bullishness in the markets at the same time. In fact, we have many times. Now, why stop here? Let's go ahead and take the oil line chart off of your screen and replace it with Bitcoin. You can just put BTC. It'll show up. BTC USD, if you want to be technical. And even though when you go too far back on Bitcoin, it's not super accurate because it was so new. But for all of us Bitcoin hodlers out there, I think you're going to like what you see when the gold-copper ratio flips bearish. I mean, granted, it's a whopping 2 signals, and that's not the best sample size, but we're talking about a pretty long-term chart here, and an occurrence that doesn't happen too often. I mean, if we're backtesting this for a trading system, 2 signals is not going to be enough to give us anything. I get that. But the 2 times we did see something, or the 2 times I saw something in the last 10 years or so, go look at those signals. Right around Q4 2020 and Q4 2016, anybody? It was an absolute rocket ship for Bitcoin. Again, 2 for 2 doesn't always mean much, but it was a hell of a 2 for 2. That's all I can say. And the third signal in the next 10 years, for me at least on my charts, is happening right now. That's all I'm saying, contrarians. Take this for whatever it is. None of this is financial advice. Don't do anything I say. Now, the question many of you may have on your minds, and I think you should have this question on your mind because the majority of us here are precious metal investors. Like, well, this is great for all of these risk-on things, VP, but what about gold and silver? So, again, you can just put this on your chart at any time. Switch the overlay. If you just want to do an ETF like GLD, does the job. But you will notice how you generally have stagnation during these periods in gold and silver itself when the gold to copper ratio flips bearish. Now, is that the best news in the world? Not so much, but a lot of us are also in gold and silver miners. And what we know and what we've talked about on the show before is at these prices, if gold and silver can just simply stay there, almost every miner on planet Earth is printing money right now. And that is nothing but bullish for us long term. Remember, Rick Rule saw this ahead of time, as he always does. He sold a lot of his physical silver positions and rotated them into silver miners based on this one principle alone. He's like, I no longer need the price of silver to go up for all of my miners to go up and do really, really well at these prices. And on top of that, I can tell you that a lot of this is from some of the paid newsletters that I look at. But let me just say that there is a lot of money coming into the gold miner space that has not come into the gold miner space for a very, very long time. They see it. Smart money sees it. And the amount of funding coming into this space is off the charts. So I feel pretty good there. Now remember, a full-blown recession could take all of these things down. That's not completely off the table. But what we at least do know is the Trump administration and the Fed, who has shown to have pretty good control and power over what happens in the markets. The Biden administration had the same power. They all want things to be tremendously bullish. And now we, or at least I, and probably you, are getting or are close to getting a signal on this one particular chart, which not only backs up this idea, but a signal which has been super accurate in the last 20 or so years. I'm not here making any predictions myself. I'm just telling you what the charts are saying. I wanted to show you what this has done to markets in the past. And I have disclosed to you one of the biggest weapons in my entire arsenal, and I will probably never do it again. But these anything to anything charts are absolutely fantastic, contrarians. If done right, they give you a huge leg up on the rest of the market. And at the very worst, can show really amazing correlations. And using them to our advantage is how, at first, it may look like we're crazy. But it ends up being one of the biggest reasons why we're always so early.